Coach, it's first season of the game is just right around the corner. What have you seen from the defensive backs as a whole unit?
Yeah, excited. I mean, we're a scrappy unit. You know, we've had a really good fall camp, and we're excited to play against another opponent. So we're looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys, they're a loud group. They like to have fun. I talked to them, a couple of them up at camp too. They're a very tight-knit group. Have you seen that both on and off the field with them?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, and you know, being coaches in college football, grabbing kids from all across the country, you know, some of the joy that we have as coaches is kind of being a fly on the wall and just seeing these relationships cultivate and develop. See guys, you know, become best friends. See guys kind of be tied at the hip. So that's really good, great to see.
You'll see some familiar foes this year with TCU and Houston and the Big 12 teams you coached for in previous years. Are you excited to see them again?
Yeah, so we won't play TCU or Houston this year, but it's exciting to see those guys, you know, in the conference. You know, obviously I spent a majority of my career in the Big 12, so I'm excited not only, you know, to play familiar teams in the future, but for the experience of our players to go into that league. It's a great league. It's a lot of great atmospheres we're going to walk into on the road, so I'm looking forward to it.
Do you feel like the play style of the Big 12 matches up well with your group this year?
Oh yeah, you know, some teams have certain identities of what they stay true to, but I feel like it's a great league to be in. It's going to be a league that's going to have a lot of parity, so I'm excited to see what it looks like in the next few years.
Dillingham is a coach that he's big on recruiting. You're a big recruiter yourself. When you were at TCU, you were one of the best recruiters in the nation. How does his recruiting style pair well with yours? Yeah,
I mean, he's a head coach that can close. He's a head coach that has a lot of enthusiasm. He likes to take the baton, and when he brings it back, you're often in a lead. You know, so to just have a coach that's super zealous and super passionate about recruiting just has created a lot of initiative for myself and a lot of zeal, you know, when advocating for the program, selling the program. Then when they come to campus, you know, a lot of head coach, you can't reach out and touch them. You know, Kenny, you can reach out and touch him, you know, and kind of get to know him more so than just the football coach. You just get to know the human. So it's exciting when you have a coach that's super enthusiastic, super zealous towards recruiting.
Yeah, and his culture has taken everybody by storm here ever since he got here last year. What are some of the things other than recruiting that you've seen him kind of bring the players in with their want and excitement to play?
Yeah, this is home for him. So I mean, this is his dream job. He went to school here. He got his first start, you know, coaching in college football at this school. So to come full circle and be back here, I mean, this is the number one destination for him. And you see that on a day-to-day basis. This is his baby. This is his pride and joy. And every day you see a guy that comes to work excited for the position that he's in, and you know, we love that as coaches, and the players gravitate towards that as well.
You spent some time over at USC. You guys actually played ASU that year, and you wound up taking a loss. Did any of the guys crack jokes to you when you got here about that?
No. A lot of people were kind of removed from the roster when I got here. There was a few people that stayed over, you know, but shout out to Xavier and Alfred. You know, he's now a Sun Devil, but when he was a Trojan, he actually caught 2 picks against Jaden Daniels that game, being out here. I think it was year 2021. So excited to kind of be on the other side.
What were some of the things that stood out to you about ASU as a whole when you were choosing where you wanted to continue your coaching career?
Really the landscape, you know, and knowing kids' interests in 2025. You know, the world is coming a little bit smaller with social media, so the landscape of this place is very sustainable. You know, you talk about other schools that might not have a metropolis surrounding it, you know, and you build a program, you have a really good year, and then it falls off a cliff. Here at Arizona State, we feel like we can build something that's sustainable, not only from the community standpoint, but the overall landscape of the greater Phoenix area is something that's very attractive to the targeted demographic that we aspire to recruit here.
Such a deep wide receiver room. Jake Smith, one of those guys. You have a bit of a pass with him over at Texas too?
Yeah, so him and Xavier, you know, I kind of feel guilty because this is the third school that I've had those guys on the roster. So from recruiting those guys to Texas to leaving the USC to now being here at Arizona State, with them, you know, not being able to play last year kind of was hurtful. And, you know, those guys now can kind of see light at the end of the tunnel. You know, we're only a few days away from those guys being able to play football.
Yeah, and that wide receiver room is deep and talented. How has that been as a competition level?
It's great to go against those guys. You know, Coach Ward in so little time has developed our wide receivers tremendously to where we see it on film. So just so many different wide receivers to go against. You got Jake, you got Melquan, little smart, twitchy, explosive guys. Then you got Jordan Tyson, who's a lot more savviness in his route tree. And you got big outside guys with X and Troy and Malik McClain, and you know, you just got a lot of variety in that room, and it helps us when we go through one-on-ones. We get to compete against these guys because we've had a little while to scout and evaluate the wide receivers alone, but when it comes to game planning, we only really get 4 to 5 practices to get ready for the next opponent. So those guys have given us tremendous looks and a lot of competitive reps to kind of iron sharpen and iron during fall camp. So we're excited to kind of play against a new opponent on Saturdays, but our wide receivers have prepared us thus far.
Yeah, and those your cornerback room is old and also very young. You talked about guys like Xavier, but you also got guys like Jack Ball and Keontae Bradley, the redshirt freshman. What can you speak on their maturity level and how they progress?
Yeah, those guys have definitely developed, being in our system for a year, being able to develop and learn our defense or whatnot. On paper, we're a young team. We have a few experience in our secondary, but not a lot, so we really have to go into Saturdays with a chip on our shoulder. We have something to prove. We got to put a product on the field that resembles who we want to be as players. And I always tell those guys, at the end of the day, it's all about Saturdays. It's all about production in between the lines and what will the film say about you come Saturdays.
And who do you feel are like the key additions to the group?
Key additions, just off the top of my head, from a defensive standpoint, I would say Justin Watley. I would say Javen Robinson, who's been experienced in the defense, played under Coach Ward. You talk about Miles Rouser coming in from New Mexico. The wealth of linebackers that we brought here since December, all of those guys can play for us pretty well. So just excited of us being able to add to the top of our roster, when those portal windows open, and we feel great about our roster moving forward.
How do you feel about the depth and versatility, in particular, in the defensive back room?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we're young in that room. We got a lot of young, promising kids that fit what we want from a metric, from a height, weight, speed standpoint. They're just babies right now, so we kind of got to develop those guys on the fly. We do have guys that might not have as much experience, but are veterans from being within a college program. Now they're here at Arizona State because we're providing an opportunity for those guys to play on Saturday. So on paper, we got a lot of guys, especially in my cornerback room, that are set to return for next year. So we just got to go through, the process of developing young talent, and I'm real confident about what this group can look like moving forward.
And because you said a lot of these guys are developing on the fly, how set in stone would you say the starting roster is in the deep?
I wouldn't say it's set in stone. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're developing the young guys, but at the same time giving the reps to the older guys that probably play for us. But, injuries happen, and I don't think a lot of teams stay healthy throughout the course of the year. So we got to continue to emphasize having a next man up mentality and mindset, so you never know when your number's called. But when your number is called, you're not only a representation of yourself and your family, you're a representation of what we're trying to build in our room. So it's a lot of sense of urgency, when your number is called. It's not just on you, it's on us.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Yeah,
Really
for
appreciate
sure.
it.